Hello everybody and welcome to Rest and Reason. I'm RP the Red Panda and today we're doing the Season 1 finale. Now Season 1 was a crazy exciting season where we looked at most of the top board games of all time in the area control category. We looked at games from the top 100 of Board Game Geek. We looked at games that were on my shelf, and then we also looked at games that I just knew were well known enough that they deserved to be in this, such as Risk and Axis and Allies and Diplomacy. So, after looking at all of those, I discovered that these 5 board games are, in my opinion, the top 5 area control board games of all time. So let's get right into those top 5 board games. Our first one is History of the World. Now, History of the World is an old school style, which means that it's a game that has die rolling. It's a game that has a lot of just quick energy of you doing your turn and getting big wins, and then somebody else coming in and getting big wins, rolling dice, having fun, and it takes quite a few hours, just like a lot of the older area control style games. It's going to make you feel like you're playing a game like Risk and Axis and Allies. But the difference is, unlike those two games, this game has adapted over time. They've made new additions with new things that will help mitigate the luck so that the person who wins this game is pretty much always going to be the person who played the best instead of the person who just got the luckiest. But it still keeps enough luck that people who like luck in their area control games is going to enjoy it. It's also very, very simple and approachable for a new player, and you're never going to feel like it's dragging on and on because you get to control a new group of people every single round, which means that if you were doing poorly in round 1, you might do really well in round 2 or round 3. It doesn't mean that you're down and out. You always have next round to come in and do something big. So that's why History of the World gets a 4 out of 5. And of course, like all of the games here, and I'm not going to mention it again, they all get gold recliners. They're all that good. My second game is Dwellings of Eldervale. Now, Dwellings of Eldervale is my choice for a 4X area control game. That means that it has a mix of economics and area control, and this one just does it so beautifully. You use the same pieces for area control as you use for the economic side of the board game. You explore things just like you do in a 4X game, but you also need to build up on the things you've already explored. It just works out really, really well, and it's more replayable than most 4X games because it has, 1, a shorter playtime. It's much quicker to play. And 2, it has such a vast number of things that might not even be involved in this particular game because there are so many elements, so many factions. I almost guarantee you're not going to have a game of this that ends up the same as another game of this game. So it is really amazing. It gets a 4.01 out of 5, which means it's just barely above History of the World. And that's largely because it's a little bit more replayable for the reasons I just gave. The third game on my list is Rising Sun. Now, Rising Sun is my choice for monster area control, majority area control, and negotiation area control or diplomacy. This is because this game mixes all of those together in a way that's very approachable and very fun, unlike Diplomacy or Game of Thrones board game, which just is very rule heavy, or other area majority games, which sometimes just feel too abstract and not solid enough. This game is just straightforward, easy to play, and it also involves monsters, which just makes things more fun and accessible for the average person. It gets a 4.06 out of 5, and that puts it, again, just barely above these other two because those monsters are going to just suck people in. That theme of Japan is just a little bit more easy to pitch to people than this vague fantasy world or than conquering the world over a couple of hours. It's just a little bit more accessible. Now, if you're appreciating this content, please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, ringing that notification bell, and smashing that like button. Make sure that people can find my videos, mostly not for my own narcissism, but so that they can hopefully save money, save time, and be able to play more board games and enjoy more board games that are actually going to get to their table a lot. And that's the goal of this channel. So let's get into my fourth game, which is just an excellent example of what this channel is all about, Small World. Now, everybody who has ever talked about the best board games of all time that are area control, most people would include Small World. And it's for very simple reasons. Small World is one of the best, just straightforward regional area control games that you can have. You take regions and you beat people up, and you do it for a very simple goal. You just want the most money, and you get to use zany powers, but the zany powers aren't super difficult. They're very tangible and easy to learn, and the symbology is just easy to follow, and it's very, very well balanced so that new players can just come in and have fun, and experienced players can come in and have fun, and both of them can feel like they're doing well, even if they aren't. A lot of times this game is actually very good about that, except at 2 players, of course, where it's a little bit more obvious when somebody's doing poorly. But in a bigger player count, this game, it's almost impossible to tell sometimes who's actually winning the game. And for all these reasons, this one's a 4.2 out of 5, which, if you notice, is quite a jump from these 3, which were all very close to each other. And the reason for this is because Small World is just that much more accessible. You're gonna get it to your table so many times. It plays with so many different player counts. It can be played so many different ways. You could play Small World negotiation style, just like Rising Sun, if you want to, but you don't have to. You can play it completely individually. It's just so easy to play that you won't be able to keep it on your shelf. You're gonna want to take it off and play it. But even though it does so good, and I thought personally that this was going to be the winning game, there's actually a game that beat it, and I couldn't believe it. I'm dead serious. I did not see this coming, and it wasn't until this season, making this season, that I realized that the true champion, the top area control board game of all time, is War of Whispers. The reason why War of Whispers is the best one, why it's a 4.26 out of 5 instead of a 4.2 or any of these other ones, why it's the highest natural version of a board game, is because you are not directly competing against your opponents. They managed to make a completely area control board game where you're fighting constantly and having that fun, still have an element of semi-cooperative gameplay. Because sometimes you're going to work together to make one group lose. Sometimes you're going to work together to make another group win. But because you don't have your own armies in War of Whispers, you are in the shadows controlling other armies. You don't own them. Nobody owns them. It means that you'll sometimes be working together, sometimes be working against each other, and sometimes just kind of neutral and letting them do what they're doing because you don't care. It's wonderful. It makes the game so much more approachable for people who don't like direct conflict, because they don't even have to play a direct conflict game. You could have somebody who says, here's all of my secrets, and work with me so that you can benefit and I can benefit. You could do that if you wanted to. Or you could be somebody who wants to play a very individual game and you don't tell anybody anything, so that way you can keep a secret. But even if you're losing in this game, you can switch things around so that you go from being the group who's losing to the group who was winning, because you changed which army you were on the side of, because you didn't do very well with this one, but now you can try with this other army because none of them are yours. It makes the game incredibly exciting. It makes every game is going to be very different, and it really takes a lot of the best things from all of these ones. It takes the basic, straightforward regional control of Small World. It takes the negotiation of Rising Sun. It doesn't really take as much from the one where with the 4X. They are very different. I'd actually say it's why it's higher than the 4X. So it doesn't take as much from this one, but it also takes from just that gut feeling, do what you want to do, regional control feel of that old school style where you're just going out and having fun. All of this is in this one area control board game, and that's why I consider it the best, the top of all time area control board game. But if you disagree with me on any of this, if you have your own top 5, please put it in the comments. It will help people watching this video with their research so that they can see how many of these end up on most people's top 5 list. If it shows up more, that means I'm probably right. If it shows up less, it means I might be a little bit crazy, which anybody who's watched the channel probably already knows. So please make sure you comment underneath for the good of everybody and for the fun of me seeing what you guys' top 5 are. And if this really helped you out or if you think it will help somebody save money and time and ultimately get more time and money to play games and buy games that they're going to enjoy regularly, please. $1 a month to our Patreon will help us keep doing this, will help us keep saving you money and time and enjoying board games more. And as always, thank you so much for joining us for season 1 in general. Again, if you want to watch more season 1, the link's going to be right here. So go ahead and watch more of season 1. And if it's not really your style, go check out some of these fixed videos. They really are quite entertaining. That's their goal. And if you hate it or love it, you're still going to be probably entertained by being angry or happy, whichever one it is. So please head over to those. And as always, thank you so much for joining us today on Rest and Reason.